Last time on Lark's Lamentations.
Hey, I'm back from getting my Brotherhood of Steel milk. Please, Junior here ain't sitting for a week.
You're an alcoholic.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
That functioning organs are a privilege in this family.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
This was an unfortunate bit of collateral damage.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Lark's Lamentations, where apparently Child Protective Services is not pleased with my parental disciplinary practices.
America? I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
And thus I'm being forced to spend time with my son in a, how do they put it, productive manner. I hate bureaucrats.
Sort of father-son thing.
So anyway, it's apparently Bring Your Dad to Work Day at the Institute, and wouldn't you know it, my boy is the leader. So I've been given the grand tour, made privy to all your secrets, and looked at my son's search history. Never mind your mother, grandfather is gonna kill you.
Stand ready for my arrival, worm.
Now, my therapist and parole officer have made it clear that I'm not allowed to hit my child anymore, because apparently good parenting is frowned upon in the wasteland. To deal with this newfound disappointment caused by my other disappointment, I shall lament about the problems with the Institute, because if I can't beat my son, I will beat the thing he holds dear.
For what?
So, first a little background on the Institute. The Institute used to be called the Commonwealth Institute of Technology. Before that, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. But yeah, sometime after World War II, they reorganized the United States into 13 different regions, and Massachusetts was merged with the other New England states to form the Commonwealth, hence the change in name. Regardless, MIT or CIT was a respected institution of science and education before the war. Many of Americans' brightest minds graduated from CIT, including Mr. House.
There's a lot of earning potential with the end of the world.
Yeah, this checks out. Anyway, when the bombs fell, the majority of the CIT staff gathered their families in the basements of the college to wait out the bombs. However, after the fallout, the scientists of CIT decided to stay underground and dig themselves a new home. By some miracle, not only were they able to build a living space, but also laboratories to continue their scientific research. Under these conditions, the remains of the CIT staff became the Institute. Now, underground, the scientists unburdened themselves with the shackles of the old world. Now they could conduct research on whatever they wanted, without the interference of pesky issues like politicians, the public, or ethics. Yes, as time passed in the wasteland, the Institute started doing crazier and crazier research. Cybernetics, FEV virus experiments, and of course, the infamous synths. All of these go towards the Institute's goal, mankind redefined.
Knowledge and resources are focused on a single goal. The goal is best summarized by our motto: mankind redefined.
Now you may be asking yourself, what does mankind redefined even mean? Well, the Institute honestly has no idea. I'm not kidding, they just picked it because it sounds catchy. Think about it. Do they redefine mankind at any point in their playthrough? Well, no. Let's go down the list. Are ghouls now considered mankind? Nope. Are super mutants now considered mankind? Nope. Synths must now be considered mankind? No. So, what is the new definition of mankind, and what's different about it? I don't know, and neither do they. Anyway, in a nutshell, egghead in the basement plus time and radiation equals mad science experiments. Why are you confused? But anyway, quick question. Why do we care? Well, I have personal stake in it because they stole my son and shot my wife.
It is personal!
And then they continued to raise my son to be a disappointment. You see, if I had raised him, we would not be in this situation. Don't look at my Crusader Kings profiles. Okay, sorry, where was I? Right. Why we should care. So here's the thing. If the Institute just kept to themselves and didn't bother the surface, nobody would care. But the Institute just couldn't help themselves. Now, part of this I do understand. The Institute needs resources to survive. So hey, I get it. But again, that's not the issue. The issue is their experiments in the Commonwealth. For example, many of you may be wondering, how did the super mutants get into the Commonwealth? Well, the Institute decided to experiment with FEV. Yep, if you or a loved one had been personally harmed by a super mutant in the greater Boston area, you could be owed thousands of caps in damages by the Institute. Yeah, and this was going on up until recently. The most recent head of the FEV project, Dr. Virgil, was actually so appalled by what the director, i.e. my son, was asking him to do, that he literally went rogue to make sure that the FEV experiments stopped. Son, look, I am one to enjoy violating the Geneva Convention, but what the hell is wrong with you? Now, that may be bad, but it pales in comparison to what they do with the synths. Now, first, to understand the issue, you have to understand where synths come from. The Institute was desperately trying to create the perfect machine, and to do that, they looked to nature's best creation, humanity. So they tried to create synthetic humans. First, they just used mechanical components, and this is where we get Gen 1s and Gen 2 synths. They don't really pass for humanity well, do they? Sort of that uncanny valley kind of thing. But on the plus side, as just robots, they do pretty good. They make great aides and custodians. But this wasn't good enough. They wanted something even closer. They wanted a biological synth. But in order to do that, they need human DNA, and unaltered DNA at that. And all of the Institute had their DNA slightly altered by the radioactive fallout. So they needed unaltered DNA, preferably a child, so they could watch how it grows, how human tissue grows. And wouldn't you know it, just northwest of Boston, there is an unsealed cryogenic vault, Vault 111.
When I'll do anything, I'll do whatever it takes to...
That's when they sent a team to come steal my son and shoot my wife. Using Disappointment's DNA, they were able to start manufacturing clones. I mean, biological synth. The Gen 3s have all biological parts, minus the control chip in their brains. Now you may ask, what's the purpose of trespassing on God's domain? Well, the way I see it, there's actually a few reasons for this. The obvious one is, well, infiltration. The Gen 3 synths can be modeled off of people and be sent to replace people on the surface to make sure that not only does the Institute keep an eye on things, they can manipulate things on the surface to how they want them to go. For example, the mayor of Diamond City is actually a synth because the Institute wants to control the local politics there. But there's another reason. Unlike the previous generations of synths, being biological, the Gen 3s don't need to be charged up and thus aren't as big a power drain. And that was a huge concern for the Institute, who was having power problems until I came around. But there is a more pressing issue with Gen 3s that the Gen 1s and 2s don't have. See, since they copied pretty much everything from humanity when creating the Gen 3s, this included higher-level reasoning and emotions. Yeah, this isn't going to end well. As the Institute started to produce more and more synths, many of them started to want freedom because, well, they had the mind of a human, the emotions of a human. So it stands logically to assume that they were going to want to be free like humans. Many started to escape. This prompted the Institute not to reevaluate what they were doing. Instead, they just decided to double down and create a special condition synth called coursers to help track down escape synths. In fact, there is an entire department of the Institute dedicated to capturing escape synths, the Synth Retention Bureau. Maybe if you have to dedicate so many resources to keeping them in, maybe you shouldn't be making them. But no, keep telling yourself they're just machines. That will sweep all ethical dilemmas under the rug. Sadly, this synth production is the priority of the Institute, much to the other department's irritation and mine. Anyway, while that's going on, my son was raised by the Institute and given the best education in the Commonwealth. Hard to believe, I know, eventually becoming the director of the Institute because... Actually, son, what did you do to become director? The reports aren't really clear because as far as I can tell, you have done nothing other than donate DNA. Seriously, the only thing I could find that you did as director was, check my notes, try to continue FEV research, and discontinue successful cybernetic research in favor of synth production.
Why do you disappoint me? Second by second, you waste my time.
So let me get this straight, bud. You guys made headlongs into cybernetic research, so much so that Kellogg was able to live for well over a century. But you decided to discontinue this successful line of research for synths. Son, this is a genuine question. Are you stupid? You giant waste of space. Can you do anything right? What on earth is wrong with you? What mental defect did the Institute put
with the railroad?
They must be eradicated.
That's my boy. You know, this is actually going to be a great father-son bonding experiment. Let's go kill that railroad. Alright, now that I got that out of my system, let's actually talk about some things you did well, son. You woke me up to fix your mistakes, and 2, you made me the next director so I can fix the entire organization's mistakes. Yeah, that's it. Sorry, son, killing the railroad is fun and all, but your organization is still stupid and it costs you your own life, and I can prove it. And I'm also going to tell you how to fix it as director.
Director Larks, 5-step plan.
So, first, now that I'm in charge, no more Gen 3 synths without express approval from me.
This is the worst. This is the worst. You are the worst. I hate looking at your face. I want to smash it.
Why? Because we don't need them. Judas H. Priest, they are a headache morally, and I'm tired of dedicating resources to retrieving them. Simply put, the Gen 2s do everything we need synths to do around the Institute, and now that I've busted my ass to get the beryllium agitator reactor up and running, we should have no more problems powering and manufacturing more Gen 2s. Now, fret not, I'm not going to let all that research go to waste. I'm not you, son. I will continue to manufacture synths or synth components on much smaller scales. But I'm not going to be making full biological synths. I want to flash clone organs. So here's the thing. We could solve a lot of medical issues via replacing faulty organs with cloned organs. Heck, son, we could probably fix up your cancer problem by replacing all your cancerous tissue with synthetic parts. But no, you're going to die now because you're stupid. 2, I'm bringing back research into cybernetics.
From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me.
If you really want to redefine mankind, let's at least get cool cyborgs out of the mix. Simply put, Institute Cybernetics were able to extend Kellogg's life and keep him in fighting shape for decades after he should have retired. Combine that with what we know from Big Mountain and the Mojave, this should be an obvious line of research. Yeah, son, if you just kept this around, you could have lived a bit longer. But no, you canceled the research because you live and die to disappoint me.
Do you hate me?
Obviously.
Also, I'm adding an ethics division. This is number 3. If you want to do research in my institute, you need to get cleared through the board to see if your research is ethical. No more FEV experiments on humans, no more playing God, and no more setting up settlements just to destroy them.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way. I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
I feel like this will greatly improve our standing with the Commonwealth. Speaking of which, number 4, I'm creating a PR department because you guys are terrible at social interaction. I'm not kidding when I say 90% of the Institute's issues could be solved if these eggheads knew how to interact with people. Apparently sociology and psychology are not studied in the Institute unless it's used to destroy a settlement. The majority of the interactions will go smoother with me in charge. Case in point, the Institute tried to recruit a scientist in the wasteland, and they just popped up in front of him with armed synths ready to go. Naturally, he panicked and called my boys in blue, and the Minutemen went on the defensive. Hey Sean, observe words you will never hear directly from me. Minutemen, I'm proud of you. All I had to do to fix this situation was by simply talking down the Minutemen, explaining the situation to the guy by saying, hey bud, we're offering you a job and you can continue your research in a cool lab, and boom, the guy signed on and nobody got hurt. See, just going and practicing a little diplomacy goes a long way, fellas. Hell, if you guys had a PR department, the Commonwealth would probably still have a government and my wife wouldn't have been shot. Yeah, that's something I'm still upset about. Seriously though, I want you to think about it. If those morons had just calmed down and explained the situation to my wife, things would have gone far smoother. Try instead, we're here to take your family to the Institute. It's an underground research facility. I know you're probably confused, but it's been a long time. Things haven't quite recovered from the bombs, and the Institute is now the safest place in the Commonwealth, and we can provide your child with the best future possible, so let me help you out of that pod. That sounds much better than trying to yank the newborn out of his mother's hands after going through the most traumatic experience of their lives. And finally, 5. Local outreach. This kind of goes a long way with the PR department, but we have all these cool science experiments, and we genuinely believe that these experiments will be a help to mankind. But yet, you'll note that we don't help mankind if they don't live in the Institute. Well, guess what? That changes now. We're helping out the Commonwealth. Main focuses being on radiation cleanup and agriculture, along with settlement reconstruction. If we can build an underground super lab habitat, then we can send some synths teams upstairs to try and build actual homes for our few more trustworthy citizens of the Commonwealth. But that's only the beginning. Soon the whole of Boston will be unrecognizable. No more sneering from below the earth. The Commonwealth is my experiment, and unlike my son, I will not fail. But yeah, son, you see, that's what I'm going to do once you pass, but don't worry. I promise cancer will not be the thing that takes you. But I also promised I wouldn't kill you. However, your uncle made no such promise.
I heard you was doing some shit.
But oh, how you disappoint. Killing you is an act of mercy.